This video will focus on the benefits and drawbacks to the flipped learning experience. Please take some time to watch the video, follow along, and if you want to, take some notes. There are some activities to complete along the way, so make sure you have a piece of paper ready to go. By the time we are done with this video, I'm hoping that you feel more confident in knowing why you might want to flip your classroom, why it might benefit your students, and make you aware of some of the issues you might run into if you do decide to flip a lesson. In the end, I hope you can take at least one part of this flipped learning philosophy and incorporate it into your classroom. However, before we get too far, let's take a break. Here's where you need that piece of paper. What I'd like you to do is make a quick list of the potential benefits of the flipped learning experience. I know we haven't talked about anything really yet, but try it. Based on what you think you already know about the flipped learning experience. So pause the video, make your list. When we come back, what we'll do is we'll start talking about some of the benefits of the flipped experience. I think the most important aspect of the flipped classroom that changes or shifts during a flipped lesson is time. Essentially, during a flipped lesson, the teacher is taking lecture and the note-taking that goes with it, which usually only requires low-level thinking skills, and making that part homework. Now, you have almost an entire class period to really work with the content acquired when students were watching that video lecture. This means more practice using higher levels of thinking like synthesis, analysis, and creation. During the class time, now you really have a chance to learn with your students. During class, you are working with individual students for longer periods of time, and you can make daily connections to each and every student. There's also more time for formative assessment on an individual basis. There's less guessing after a lecture, and that question that always pops into your mind, well, did they just understand anything I said? The entire flipped experience can inherently also help differentiate your lesson. The video lectures allow students to process the information at their own speed and at their own time. They can pause it, they can rewind it, they can fast forward, they can watch it once, they can watch it 100 times if they want to. In the end, all of the extra time given both to you and the students to work with the content helps improve comprehension and student learning. Now, the top visual is just a quick representation of how your classroom dynamic can shift using the flipped experience. You might have heard of the saying from the flipped classroom, you're going from sage on the stage to guide on the side. Now, I would argue that you're still the sage on the stage, however your stage now is online. I think lecture is still a very important part of the classroom. It's one of the most popular and effective ways of giving students content. However, through flip, now you have more time to be the guide on the side, being available to students in class to help them through the more difficult aspects of the content. In the second diagram, you can see that during the school day, students and teachers are working together now. Keyword there, I think, is together, towards those higher levels of thinking skills. Whereas in the traditional setting, students were kind of forced to do those on their own at home. That was a lot of information, so let's take a quick break. Hopefully you still have that piece of paper, and after seeing some of the potential benefits of the flipped experience, I want you to take some time and make a second list. Now, this list is the benefits that you see the flipped classroom providing you and your students. I want this to be very specific to you. Not something general, but, just based on what I just said. I want it to be what you think can improve or benefit from for your classroom. So pause the video, and then when we come back, we'll talk about some of the drawbacks to flipped learning. The flipped experience, is pretty cool to see when you do see it in your classroom. However, there are some issues that you might have to work through in the early stages of implementation. First, it's a lot of work, and that work is up front. Before students even walk into the door, you should have your videos planned, they need to be created, You need to have your formative assessments ready to go. Your higher level thinking activities should be aligned with your videos, and those should be ready to go. But if you take a step back and you think about it, we do those things already. The flipped learning experience just requires us to be a little bit more organized and ahead of the game in our planning and get things created before students walk in the door. The second issue you may run into is the students themselves. The experience of flipped learning is very different for students. They might not feel overly comfortable with the added responsibility of understanding the content from the videos the very next day in class. They might feel like you're not really teaching them anymore, that they have to do all of the learning. But in reality, you're available to them more using the flip method because now you have more time during class to help with misconceptions or difficulties. You will also run into students that do not have enough responsibility to watch the videos as homework. And what they essentially do is they unflip your flip. And we can talk about how you can kind of troubleshoot that. It's a shift in the mindset for both you and your students. Okay, the drawbacks, I mean, they're an important piece of this experience, and I want you to take some time to write down some of your greatest concerns, some of your biggest questions that you still might have about the pros and the cons that we've talked about. I want you to bring them to class for a bigger, larger group discussion. I think that is always good when people bring questions together because you might have similar questions or your question might spur more conversation. So pause the video, write them down, and we got one more slide. We're almost done. Now the flipped classroom gives you more time to be with students. You're discussing the topic you love and you're doing it at a deeper level. I mean, what more can you ask for? It can be difficult at first due to all of the prep work just for one flipped lesson, and students might struggle with it at first. However, I really feel that the benefits far outweigh the costs. Now, in the next video, we'll discuss some of the tips to effectively flip a lesson that you already have. So, thank you for watching. Make sure you bring things with you, and we will see you next time.